right, who's coming in? Max Verstappen is coming in then for the undercut.
I'm going to be talking about how Max Verstappen leveraged the undercut to beat Lewis Hamilton at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Now, if you haven't watched this race was an amazing race to watch. You have Max Verstappen in pole position, Lewis Hamilton in second, and coming off of that, Lewis Hamilton takes the lead and really starts to go ahead and measure and understand his tire and speed at this track. And it wasn't too much longer that into the race, it was obvious that Max Verstappen, while being maybe 5 seconds, 3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, actually had the quicker car. Max Verstappen said this on the radio. Lewis Hamilton acknowledged it. Verstappen saw, Lewis Hamilton's tires getting a little bit loose in the rear. And this is where he made a strategic decision to use the undercut technique. So you're probably thinking, well, what is the undercut technique? Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're one of those new watchers that started watching F1 from Drive to Survive. And that's what really ignited my passion for this race. I used to watch F1 a lot, but now I've been watching it way more religiously. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll be covering F1 in detail going forward, along with everything to do with motorcycles and cars, if you like that. But this is really an important strategic decision that Red Bull did and Max Verstappen did, is leveraging the undercut. And essentially what the undercut is having somebody come in and pit earlier so that they can be on fresher tires for longer versus the competition. So in this case, Max Verstappen knew he had the faster car, knew that he was faster than Lewis Hamilton during this race right now. So instead of, staying behind him, he made the strategic decision as soon as his tire degradation started to wean out, he went ahead and said, let's go ahead and change with his team. And they went on that hard tire and really was able to go ahead and set some lap times and using that advantage to catch up to Lewis Hamilton. So Red Bull was able to essentially capture faster laps than Lewis Hamilton, who was on a highly degraded or more degraded tire. This technique can only really be used in a situation where okay, you're going to get the advantage now, but at the end of the race, you're going to have to really learn and control the tire management and make sure that your rears and your front tires are in a good spot to keep the pace. So Red Bull decided at this time, instead of kind of playing behind Lewis Hamilton, they wanted to take the lead, be aggressive with this undercut technique, and then play from a leading position at the end of the race. And that's exactly what they did. And it was obvious. I think, number one, Hamilton's car is faster down the straight. Verstappen knows it, Hamilton knows it, but Max was actually as fast, if not faster, on most of the other sections on the course, except on the times where his tires were degrading. So he took this undercut and gone ahead and accelerated, and built up a bigger time lead for Hamilton when he came into the pits. This was going to be a two-stop race anyway. Both of them are on hard tires. Now, at the middle part or at the end of the race, after the second tire change happened, that's when you saw, and that's when the gamble started to happen. Hamilton was about 6, 7, 8 seconds off the pace from Verstappen, and it was basically a catch-up game, and really it would come down to the last 3 laps. But this is exactly the position Red Bull wanted to be. They knew they had the faster car. They knew they were getting traction down a little bit better. It was called out multiple times on the radio that Hamilton was losing a little bit of that control. So they knew they were going to play from a leadership position, protect the lead from a Lewis Hamilton. And by the end of the race, the last 6 laps, Hamilton, he was catching up. He was catching up from 3 seconds. He was down 2 seconds, down to 1 second in the last few laps, but just didn't have enough to go ahead and overtake Max Verstappen. Now, interestingly, what happened at the end of the race, on the last lap, Max overtook a backstop, which allowed him to use DRS on the straight. Hamilton didn't end up using DRS on the straightaway. So that caused them to lose some time and unfortunately not go ahead and take the championship from Max Verstappen, who started this race in pole position. So tell me, what do you guys think? I thought it was a great move to go ahead and use the undercut in this situation. It worked out for them this time, but do you think that he went out a little bit too early? It almost felt that Max came in maybe 3 or 4 laps a little early and put himself at a riskier position at the end of the race to defend against Lewis Hamilton, who by all means is one of the fastest drivers in F1. In my opinion, in natural talent, Max Verstappen's probably number 1 with that. But it was an incredible race. That was the undercut and how Max Verstappen used it to go ahead and beat Lewis Hamilton. Again, if you like this video, if you have any comments about the strategy, did you think it was a good strategy at the time? It obviously worked out, but it could have backfired as well. What do you think Max and his team could have done? Or what do you think Lewis Hamilton could have done? I felt like his hands were tied at the end there, especially with that backstop, losing the ability to have DRS, but it was an amazing race. race, and Max Verstappen takes the championship crown yet again. So if you guys like this video, again, make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want any more F1 coverage, and then leave your comments down below. I'll be sure to check them out. I'll catch you guys in the next race and in the next video.